Fortunately, today we have with us Dr. Mel Campbell and his speech entitled Emotional Intelligence. For the last 17 years, Dr. Mel has taught and spoke in over 323 cities throughout 6 countries. He has given close to 1,100 presentations and motivated over 47,500 students. Dr. Mel has reached hundreds of thousands of individuals over the radio and the news. He earned his Bachelor of Science degree from the University of Tennessee, woohoo! His MBA from Northwood University, and his doctorate in psychology from the University of the Rockies. Dr. Mel will combine theories of motivation and psychology to help us learn how to improve leadership and communication skills, analyze negative behavior patterns, improve motivation, achieve our goals, and improve our performance. With his presentation, Emotional Intelligence, please help me welcome, with a big round of applause, Dr. Mel Campbell.
Yay! Motivational high five, everybody. My name is Dr. Mel Campbell. I'm looking forward to spending the next hour with you. I call this Power Hour. So I want you to put your seatbelt on and get ready for some knowledge about emotional intelligence. This is not a subject that a lot of people think that they can get confused about. This is a subject that's really easy to understand. So I've been a psychologist for about 5 years. I've been speaking for over 20. I've been all over the world speaking, and I'm ready to help answer any questions you have about speaking and my topic at the end. So let's talk about emotional intelligence. When you think about emotional intelligence, think about any emotion that you have involves emotional intelligence. You have emotions that span the board from being isolated like we are in this situation. You have emotions about safety. All emotions that you're experiencing are communicating something to you. And emotional intelligence is about regulating those emotions, understanding those emotions, understanding the emotions in yourself. So we're going to take this hour to really talk about the emotional intelligence concept itself. Came from Daniel Goleman. He's the authority on emotional intelligence. He's the expert in the field. Anything by him is amazing. So when he talked about emotional intelligence, he kind of broke it down into 5 different categories. Now, we are going to apply this to speaking as well. I was very active, and Toastmaster gave me my start as a speaker, and I can't thank my groups enough to make me a better speaker. I started 2 Toastmaster clubs, was in the advanced manual as well, and to be able to work on your speaking skills. Now, this is an important point. Now, for those of you that you're probably familiar, obviously, with Toastmaster, there's various talks that you go through. With the Toastmasters talks you do, you experience emotions through these talks. One of them is the icebreaker. And the icebreaker, you're so nervous. How do you control those nerves? That's the concept of emotional intelligence, how you're controlling the aspects of your emotion. I know on my first speech, I felt like I was jumping off a cliff, but and I will tell you this day, even after 1,000 presentations, I still get nervous. Absolutely. I think sometimes when you don't get nervous, that sends signals of, hey, maybe I'm prepared, maybe I'm not. When those are prepared, have less emotions about being nervous than those that are not. But there are some of us that are just always ready for action, and that's where my nervousness comes from. And you want to take that emotions and use it in your talk. You want to take that emotion and conquer fear, because you may or may not know this, but public speaking is the #1 fear of Americans. Some people would rather die than speak in public. So it's important that you be self-aware, that you find the motivation to conquer, and then you have empathy for the audience and empathy for others. And it does involve a lot of social skills. The whole concept of emotional intelligence takes some work. So our agenda for Power Hour is that we're here to boost your emotional intelligence the best we can. Emotional intelligence, if you know anything about it, you can always work on it. There's never enough education, I think, about this topic. We're going to grow some EI skills, we call it. EI stands obviously for emotional intelligence. And then you have EQ, which stands for emotional quotient. And there are various tests to test your emotional intelligence, and some of them are online. You want to test to see how you do well under pressure. That's one of the key components of emotional intelligence. And are we under pressure right now? Absolutely. We have more stress than we've had in a long time. And the ability to deal with stress is a skill. And that's why we call it an EI skill. So we're going to help you understand emotional intelligence better, communicate it more effectively with the people who are your audiences and people that you meet. I personally have been doing work with major companies. Been doing work with CDC during this time, and some major corporations on how to maintain that emotional stress level, make sure that you're not letting it get the best of you. I do want you to write down a couple of formulas. Some of you may have heard of these formulas before. A plus B equals C. Your attitude plus your behavior determines your consequences. A plus B equals C. Now think about this. What is the best attitude we need to have? PMA, which stands for positive mental attitude. Positive attitude, positive behavior, positive consequences. Negative mental attitude is one thing that takes our emotions and allows us to feel this really big, heavy weight. And that weight can be relieved when you are able to deal with your emotions effectively. We're going to talk about how to relieve some of those emotions as well. So let's think about the emotional patterns that exist when you're dealing with this sometimes emotional story, the emotional baggage, if you will. Emotional baggage is something that you have that is holding you down, and that's why I call it baggage. It is something that if you have a speech to do and you're feeling nervous about it, that's baggage. It could hold you back from giving an effective speech. If you're at work and you have something that needs to be addressed and you don't address it, that's emotional baggage. So baggage, once you discover what it is, you can free yourself from it. And that's what we teach in psychology. I see a lot of psychology patients, and I almost see it in their body, the emotional baggage that they have, how it weighs on them. And when you have that baggage, it doesn't allow you to be fully healthy. And as a psychologist, that's all I really teach is how to be healthy. And I am on a personal mission to eradicate all negativity from this planet. That's my mission. Every day, that's what I work for. I do have a daughter. Her name is Willow, and she'll be 6 in June. And when you see, as we grow older, the emotional baggage with time tends to increase. So it's just so, I'm a new dad. Anybody has any advice for me at the end, please let me know. This is my first daughter. And I'm just learning so much about raw emotions as a human. She's got 2 words. I want a nummy and I want to go bye-bye. And I want to go bye-bye. She's always wanting a different experience, right? She doesn't want to be bored. And my father taught me only a boring person is bored. And the emotion of boredom, it is an emotion. It's something that we experience. There's so many exciting things about life that we can experience. I don't want her ever to be bored or not be able to control her emotions. So I'm a psychologist and I have a daughter. This is going to be fun. That was my first thought when I had a daughter. So you can be your own psychologist. And that's one of the things that I teach in my talks, that when you go to a psychologist, there are certain things that we ask as a psychologist. So what do you think you should do about that? That's one thing. And I laugh in a powerful way, because you know a lot of times what you can do about your situation. The key is to have the motivation to be able to do that. And I am a motivational speaker and I'm a psychologist. So I'm a motivational psychologist, and I see the power when your emotional baggage is lifted from you, right? And you're free for the first time. You'll see this in soldiers who, post-traumatic stress disorder have things that happen to them that really hurt them in life and doesn't allow them to function. And right now we're going to post-traumatic stress, not the disorder, the stress of this experience. So you have 2 emotions or 2 things that you can go to in any given period of time. You either think a negative thought or positive thought in any period of time. That's it. There is no other thought, the negative or the positive thought. You can also think a thought of emotion or a thought of logic. Now, I heard a little bit of a discussion about superheroes before I came on the call. Bring it. I actually, Dragon Con here in Atlanta, I have about 8 or 10 different costumes that I have. I do have, yes, I have my Star Trek uniform, and as you know, yes, I have official rankings, Lieutenant Commander of Engineering. I have the logic is the thing that Spock uses on the episode. And that's where you feel no emotion and you're looking at logic. There are times where we need not feel emotion. My father always taught me that if you panic in a panic situation, that's very dangerous. There was a time where we were canoeing, me and my family. My dad grabbed this branch, and we all flipped over, and I fell into the water, and I freaked out. My dad pulled me out of the water. I'm shaking. I'm cold. He says, "Son, never panic in a panic situation, because when you are panicking, your emotions go, your logic goes out the window, and you're not able to think clearly. So it's important to take those deep breaths and really focus on the logic situation. Okay, we're safe. We're on the bank. We're going to start a fire." So there are times that emotional intelligence needs to come and play in a situation like that. Now, a concept invented by me is called the emotional guidance system. Now, you all have GPSs. Some use your phone. Some use, the old school GPS, which I used to have. I don't know how I was doing speaking. I was reading maps back in the day. I don't know how I was able to do that. But I got to the location. Well, you have an emotional guidance system yourself. And that emotional guidance system will take you and accomplish goals. When I got my doctorate, it was one of the greatest days of my life. And I had a 3.9 GPA in a PhD program. I couldn't believe I was able to do it. And I worked full time. I had to control my emotion. I had to figure it out. There would be times I didn't sleep and I'd have to give a talk. I walk into a room one time, there's 220 people and I have no sleep. I'm like, I got to figure this out. That's the time where the emotions, you have to control them and to do your job and do what you have to do to be successful. So the emotional guidance system is always leading you. And what direction do you want to go? What is your life goals, your yearly goals, your weekly goals, your daily goals? When I was 16 years old, I knew I wanted to be a motivational speaker. I knew that I wanted to be a psychologist. In college, in psychology, 100 questions, I finished them in 15 minutes, got them all right. I just knew it was a gift. I was like, I've got to help people. So we have an emotional guidance system that you can follow. The key with emotional intelligence, I hope you really get this, everyone listening, is that you have to follow your instinct. Now, we think about stress and think about the emotions that come up in a talk or emotions that come up when you're dealing with a situation. Where's that from? It's from the caveman days, back in the day where there was a tiger or a dinosaur out in the cave and somebody's going to eat you and you have to protect your family. So our emotions would take place to get our physiology ready for a dangerous situation. You know how when you hit something like a curb by mistake with your car, you almost get in an accident and those emotions happen? That's a part of that guidance system to kind of help you, protect you from the stress level that can happen. So with these experiences that we have and all the speeches that we've done and all of the work experience we have in our family, this makes up emotional stories that we deal with inside of our unconscious. And when you're making the negative story conscious, then you can free yourself of some of that pain. For example, in the past, and you can see this a lot of time in court cases, some people believe facts that never even happened. We make up stories that aren't even true. My brother and I, have a completely different interpretation of when my parents were going to divorce, what happened, right? And it turns out everything I believed for most of my life was wrong about that situation, and because I made it up. And I think we don't, consciously say, okay, I'm going to make this story up. It's not something we do. We tend to do that. So when you find that emotional story, there was a story I want to share with you that many men can relate to this, some women can relate to it as well. And when it comes to emotion, by the way, too, men and women are different. There's different genders emotions. There are different generational emotions and different cultural emotions. So this is a very big topic. So the story is that I was shoveling snow with my dad. I think I was 11 years old. And I was really cold. And I said, Dad, I want to go inside. I'm cold. He goes, son, are you a man or are you a mouse? And I said, I'm a mouse, and I ran inside. Do you know from that day, that story guides me to be a man every day? Now, some people can see that story to be a negative thing and affect their whole life. It powers me every day. Every day I want to be a man for my father, for my partner. Every day I want to help people the best I can to show that I'm making a difference. So think about your emotion. Here's a good exercise to do. Start writing down, and this is great as a speaker, 100 of your stories. Title only. Well, start with 50. 100's a lot. I'm very aggressive. So start with 25, 25 of your stories. And then if you just do title only, you can start to craft those stories. Stories allow us to connect with emotion. And when you speak, there's a difference between speaking from your head and your heart. Do a talk with your heart instead of your head, and you will have no problems connecting with your audiences. When you do a logic talk, well, it's logical to do this and that, and you're being Mr. Spock, right? Not everybody's going to connect. Logic is, hey, if you exercise, perfect example. I want to lose weight. Well, there's two ways to do that: diet and exercise. Well, why don't we do it? Right? And logically, it's easy to do. At the same time, it's very hard to do that motivation and things you need to do. So find the emotional story for you and connect it with your audiences. Find the emotional for you to heal yourself, and you can heal yourself if you need healing. And then reverse the emotion. Now, what do I mean by this? Well, if you're feeling negative, a lot of people will do this. Oh, I stubbed my toe. I spilled my coffee. It's going to be one of those negative days. That's the emotional story you create. Reverse the emotion. Tony Robbins talks about this, my favorite motivator of all time. He talks about state change. So if you're in this negative state, you're like this negative person here, be the positive person. Just walk into that positive person and reverse the emotion. So if you're feeling negative, reverse it to positive. A lot of you are watching CNN every day, constant negative news. Yes, my jokes don't get much better. So we are watching, now I love CNN. I live here in Atlanta. It's just I can't do the news anymore. There's too much negativity. And you are the sum total of who you surround yourself with. A motivator taught me this. Take your mobile device and delete all the losers out of your phone. Loser, delete, and it helps. It really does. And I know some of you cannot delete family members, but think about the circle who you surround yourself around. Do you want to surround yourself with people that have positive emotions or people that have negative emotions? You know, I know Glenn Hodges was on the conference today earlier. What an amazing individual. I am honored to have him in my circle of friends. Think about the motivators in your life. Do you have people that are you reaching out to motivate you, such as mentors? So think about the concepts of emotion and how they exist. And I wanted to show you this slide, this next slide, to completely freak you out. This is the wheel of emotions. These are all the emotions going on right now, right? They could sometimes seem like it takes place all at the same time. So how do you manage those? And that's the importance of emotional intelligence, knowing what they are, knowing where they're coming from. You ever meet someone for the first time, you just don't like them? Did you ever meet someone who's like, I've got to meet this person? That is instinct. And I believe that all people on the planet have instincts to survive. Now think about what is the purpose of all life forms on this planet? Survival. And the key with life forms on the planet, all animals on this planet trust their instincts except for humans. So we have to learn to follow our instinct. By the way, in Star Wars, we call it use the Force. And I see Yoda in the background with my friend there. Yes, Curtis, yes. And, you know, the wisdom of the concept of the Force, if you will, that you can tap into something greater, something powerful, something where you have your own superpowers. You know, I'm a big DC Marvel guy, and I teach people how to be superheroes. I teach them to find their power. And when you find your power, you can be great. You have goals inside of you. And if you can activate those goals and activate your powers, it's amazing. Some of you are familiar with the concept of a mutant from the X-Men movies. Well, we all have a superhero gene inside of us as well, and we have to activate it. And with the right emotions, you can activate that gene. So you have the emotional guidance scale up here, and I did source where this came from. So you have the upward spiral and the downward spiral. So which one do you want to be? Do you want to have passion? Do you want to have enthusiasm? My seminars start with high fives and end with high fives. I am just the energy guy. I love motivating people, and I want you to all work on this in terms of your talks, in terms of your life. I want you to put 5 times more enthusiasm in everything you do. 5 more times. Just turn it up, turn the power up. There was one of my favorite movies of all time. It's called The Last Dragon. And it's a Barry Gordy movie from back in the day, Motown. Vanity was in it, and Tamok. So I grew up in Detroit. And at the end, he has a thing, he searches the whole movie for what's called the glow. And the glow is this energy field around him where he's powered up and he's able to defeat the villain. And he finds the glow. It's just really, I'm getting chills talking about it because it's my favorite movie. Watch movies that inspire you. You know, a lot of people can watch movies that are so negative and then you go to bed with those thoughts. I'm like, whoa. So emotional control is being able to manage those thoughts. When you want to go to bed, you go to bed because you are able to control your thoughts. Now, when you're looking at this emotional guidance scale, how do you control your thoughts? Well, I'm a big fan of meditation. Meditation allows me to still my thoughts, allows me to concentrate on what I need to do and be effective. And I'm also a fan of affirmations. I actually wrote a book on affirmations. It was such a journey to be an author. I want to tell you this story very quickly because I think it will really help with this emotion intelligence part. I had my child and I was like, I need revenue. I've been working on this book for 3 years. I got to do something to get some revenue, right? And I talked to my girlfriend, Ashley, and I said, I've got to work on this book. So I started working on it really hard for that day. I feel so motivated, and I got a call to be on a APC conference, Administrative Professional Conference, about 600 people, 2 days back to back. And they're like, do you have a book table? I'm like, book? I'll have one. So I say, yeah, sign me up. So I'm like, this is my chance to, get a book signing. I've always wanted to do it. And do you know, and no matter where you are with your faith, I tapped into my faith, to God. And I said, I need help with this book. I cannot believe what happened to me the next day. I don't know how the book got wrote. When I read this book, I can't even believe I wrote some of these affirmations. Do you know I got that book done in 2 days? And I got it to my editor in 1 day and he turned it around. Do you know we made it an hour or two before the shipping to make it to the conference? What is it? What is that? And it's tapping into the emotions. It tapped into the force. It taps into, I can do it. And I just let go and I let the writing process happen. You have a book inside of you and you have to bring out that emotion. Now, when you're talking about book, many people are like, oh, I need to be smart, have high IQ. Well, as you look at this slide, EQ is beneath the surface, right? It's that unconscious part. It's a self-awareness, the management, and the empathy. And when I imagine someone reading my book and it changing their life, it's 365 days of affirmations that you can read on a daily basis to motivate you. And I think you have to stay motivated every day. It's not one of those things, in my opinion, that you just do it, motivation 1 or 2 hours and you're done. I think you should put the work in. Whatever you feed in life grows. So if you feed the positive, that grows. When you feed the negative, it grows. Now, this next slide, many of you know the characters here, not characters, but the celebrities. And by the way, I do have a poll I do with my live emotional intelligence. Which one of these is not high in emotional intelligence? I know I put Darth Vader on there. So that is the fear part of it, the darkness that we always sometimes have to fight. So you see Mother Teresa, Oprah Winfrey, Martin Luther King, and Gandhi. When you're emotionally intelligent, you're actually being all 4 of these people. You're thinking of peace, right? And you're able to control. And empathy, Oprah, when she gives her interviews, you can see it in her body language and how she connects with the audience. It really makes a difference when you can start thinking about these individuals. Now, you're probably wondering, hey, Mel, do I have high emotional intelligence or high EQ? Well, if you can answer some of these signs, then you're well on your way to be able to see if you have high emotional intelligence. Are you able to embrace change? One thing in life that we have that's constant is change. And by the way, I didn't mention this. I know that some of you on your PowerPoint, you're seeing subtitles down at the bottom. Well, when I did my work with some major corporations, they had hearing impaired individuals, and it allowed, I found a feature in PowerPoint that allows the subtitles to appear. So some of these talks, if you do have hearing impaired individuals in the audience, you can use this PowerPoint to kind of talk it out. So really, really powerful to be able to do that during a presentation. So change is our one consistent thing. We have to embrace change. And by the way, with what's going on right now, every day we're getting back to a new normal. There's going to be a new normal that takes place. And those that are high emotional intelligence are able to shift with those times. The high emotional intelligent person that has the ability to say no. They know their strengths. They know their weaknesses. They know how to let go of their mistakes. Some of you beat yourself up so bad from your mistakes. I personally believe that people do the very best they can with the information that they have. And it's okay to let go of some of those past mistakes. And with emotional intelligence, we teach this. You can think about the past. You can think about the future. All you have is the right now moment. So you have the now moment experience. Do you want to ruin that now moment with negative thoughts? It's like carrying a dead parrot on your shoulder. Look at my parrot. Look how beautiful my parrot looks. Look at that's what we're doing with some of these stories. And I'm like, I'm looking at people and their parrot, and I'm like, I can hear it as soon as I have a call with them. They start their story, and when I break state and I say, I want you to think about what you just said, right? And you hold a mirror to people. That's why I do motivational speaking and psychology, and let them see that story. And you say to yourself, is this really true? Is this really who you want to be? So stop the negative self-talk. It doesn't help you. It only hurts you. And we're also very good at a good judge of character because we follow our instincts. We're very curious about each other. So I stated source, Travis Bradberry, very good book, Emotional Intelligence 2.0. We see an emotional cycle that can take place. You can think about it, E plus R equals O. An event will happen plus a response, and that determines outcome. So it's basically you interpret the event that's happening to you, and then you respond emotionally, and that determines the outcome, whether your reaction is positive or negative. And there's power in this emotional reaction. You know, am I going to sit around and let people press my hot buttons all day? Mm-mm. There are some people that are going to get upset because it's raining outside. You can't control the rain. So why get upset about something you're not able to control? Right? We have weather inside of us. And I do want to tell you a story. It's actually an experience that happened. The story is about this school, and they put up 2 different bottles of water. They label one positive and one negative. And the kids would go by and say positive things to the positive water and then negative things to the negative water. And they tested that water in a week. And the negative water was murky and nasty. And the positive water, if you test the crystals on it, was beautiful. And that's what we do with our thoughts. You have fluids flowing through you, right? Your blood's flowing through you. Do you want to taint it with that negative thought process or that positive thought process? And that's the power of these emotions. They can energize you and pump you up. You know, I love all of the Rocky movies. When I hear Eye of the Tiger, I'm ready to go. No matter what's going on, I hear that song, let's go. I'm ready to go. It's just, it triggers. It's an emotional trigger. So we have positive triggers, like I see Yoda, and that powers me up. I have a laptop that only has one sticker on it. And I don't put anything on I don't have tattoos. I don't put stickers on anything. I have Yoda on my laptop because I want people to know that I'm about wisdom, and I'm about believing in source, and I'm about making sure that you ignite that source. So you can get emotions that energize you. You can also have emotions that can deflate you. You can have emotions that defeat you. When you believe that you're about to go into a talk and you have to perform the best, play that music to pump you up. Now, I've been to 163 concerts. Yes, I counted them. I'm a psychologist. That's what I do. I count things and I analyze things. And I go to these concerts because music, that vibration, notice music is vibration, pumps me up. And by the way, I used to break dance back in the day. They called me time zone because I violated the rules of time until I fell on cardboard. I stopped doing that. But I'm still doing that. I'm still dancing with my audience. And that's what it's like with an audience. It's like a tennis match. You serve, and then you get back. You serve, you get back. If you're not getting those signals back, you're not able to bend with the audience. I'm a fan of being prepared as possible with a talk, and I'm also a fan of being prepared emotionally for a talk. When you get in that zone, whether it be music, whether it be dancing, and I can still clear a dance floor, by the way. I just love to dance with my audience. I love to dance with my clients, you know, making sure that they're served in the right way. And when you're out here, and I heard the speaker earlier mention this, yeah, my living is speaking. And it's so, my emotion when this first happened was not a good place. I was like, all business that I have is now gone. And Glenn talked to me. Me and Glenn were talking, Glenn Hodges. And one thought he had changed my emotion. And do you know I have more business than I've ever had in a month? The shift has happened, and I'm keeping up with it. You can keep up with the shift too in the speaking. If you were having a hard time getting clients, give talks and speak for free to get your name out there. I did so many free talks for major corporations just to get my name out there. Once they had a taste of Dr. Mel, they knew they had to have me come back. And that's what you want to do. You want to give them a taste of you and your power and your concepts. We want to hear your stories. We want to read your book. It is you inside your mind that stops you from creating that. So motivate yourself to create action. Positivity helps with your health. There are some people on this webinar right now experiencing some pain in their body. And a lot of times psychology can help you with that pain. The stress of financial right now. Wow. The stress of individuals that are not able to get seen, your family members. You know, my grandmother, say a prayer for right now. She's 86 years old and there's no one there to see her. And it's hard emotion to deal with. We have to be good at dealing with the negative emotions, because if you do let the negative emotions win, it can take your energy away. It can create more conflict because you'll make more mistakes. Imagine not getting sleep and you're about to do a talk that depends on the livelihood of your family. Whew. I've been there before. It's really tough. If you get plenty of sleep and you go up there with high energy, they're going to bring you back. You go up there and they even sense for a moment that you're not 100% on, you may lose a contract. So you want to be on all the time. And I have been there before where you don't know how you're going to be able to do it. You did, right? We all have gotten through things we didn't know how we were able to get through them, and we did. So the components of being on, by the way, we are halfway through our power hour. I am so looking forward to answering questions at the end. I got so many questions on my webinar yesterday. I typically do an power hour webinar for my clients, and so many questions. I feel like when you ask questions, you can get powerful answers to any of the things you doubt about this topic. So real quick, emotions are based on, and this is a funny thing to say, emotions are actually a chemical reaction. Oops, sorry. A lot of people, when I say, they're like, huh? Well, if you think about it, if you have a chemical reaction that's causing emotion, you can have a chemical reaction that causes a positive emotion. So what are your moods, right? What are your emotions identifying inside of you that needs to be fixed or dealt with? Emotions are happening for a reason. And when you find that reason, it can be really powerful. So it's about self-regulation, and it's about tackling those tough emotions. And then empathy. Empathy is when you're talking with an audience, and you have to study your audience, everyone. It's, I see speakers that go up on the stage and they haven't done their homework on this group. I think a conference survey is good to see what people are needing in terms of the talk. I like evaluating the talk after it's done. So, you got to figure out, what did I do best and what can I do better next time? You want to know that, and you can use those for testimonials. So making sure that you get feedback before a talk. One of the worst things you ever do is go into a talk and not know your audience. You have to go in there knowing who's the thought leader in that audience, making sure you understand who the leadership is, and making sure that you talk to a participant in advance so you can understand what their needs are. And when you're there, you got to be social. They're judging every move you make. And your audience, now this is going to be weird to say, your audience is smarter than you think they are, and they're also dumber than you think they think you are. You're like, what are you saying, dumb? Well, in some ways, when you're being positive and you don't know what you're doing, and you pretend like you know what you're doing, just through that moment where you lose where you are in the talk, they're going to be okay. They want you to succeed. They want you to be able to be successful. So do what you can to stay positive during the talk. Perceive your emotions. Understanding your emotions and managing emotions and using your emotions are all about this communication. So let's play a few activities while I have you on the phone. I want you to do me a favor. I want you to write your name in cursive with your non-dominant hand. Go ahead and write your name in cursive with your non-dominant hand. Now, many of you, I can see for some of the people on the web here, is very uncomfortable, right? And that's how it is with emotions, to be able to make conscious what we're doing. When you write your name with your dominant, and by the way, many of your first name and last name, yep, that's your name. When you write your name, you're used to it, and it's an unconscious thing. You know how sometimes you get to work, you don't know how you get there? That's unconscious. When you take a different way to work, it's a different change in your thinking. It's a different change in how you do behavior. Okay, here's another activity that I want you to do with a piece of paper. I want you to draw an image for me. I want you to draw an image that I'm looking. And by the way, are we mind readers? No. Always ask your audience, how is this working for you, right? So I want you to draw an image. It's a circle. Okay, draw a circle. And then I want you to put 2 dots in the circle. And then I want you to draw a line that kind of curves down under the 2 circles. Well, what did you draw? Smiley face. Yes. Yes, I got smiley faces. Yes. And that's what it's about with interpretation. Very good. I see a nose on that one. That's what I get in my audiences. If they don't get your concepts, a lot of speakers will explain it in the same way over and over again. If they didn't get it the first time, you might want to explain it in a different way. So we had an image that we both created together, and I had you do it. You can do the same way with your speaking. So we know that being a speaker takes a lot of work, and it's so rewarding to be able to support my family just for getting up on a stage and sharing my message. That is just unbelievable to be able to do that. And it's something I do want to point out that I'm going to be able to do as long as I live. I imagine this, where I'm about 100 years old on stage. They're going, oh, there goes Dr. Bell. I'm going to die with a mic in my head. I am 100 years old. I'll be on the stage. I'm hoping to live longer than that. Think about this power. You can be as old as you want and still speak. It's a lucky thing. It's a beautiful career that I have. And I'm more than happy to help people after this webinar as well. You know, Toastmasters Give Back, Toastmasters for Life. Right? We're always helping each other. It's the purpose of this group. And I just have learned so much by being a Toastmaster, seeing others be Toastmasters and change lives by their speaking. When you see someone that gets an award, I just love to see my award. And another, no competition here. I think we're just a family. Dale Carnegie, great program as well, is helping with the speaking. It's really helped me in my career. So just go out there, Landmark Forum. I love that course, amazing course. Any Tony Robbins course. So we've talked about some of these EQ skills. Let's think about some other EQ skills you may not know about. Time management. There are probably some procrastinators on this webinar right now. Should we talk about it now or later? We'll talk about it now. I got 3 words to transform you about your emotion of procrastination. Are you ready? Here it is. Do it now. Write that down. Do it now. Now, I've actually run a psychological test over 1,000 individuals, and I had them say the affirmation, do it now, all day long, while they're eating, while they're sleeping. Well, not while they're sleeping, but while they're eating, while they're doing the activity. Do it now, do it now, do it now, do it now. And you'll find that your procrastination will be less after how many days is to create a habit? Days to create a habit? 21 to 30 days. So I want you to practice the concept of do it now, saying the affirmation over and over again. It will change your emotions about procrastination and allow you to accomplish more. Some of us, you see the emotion of anger management there. Having a daughter, wow, I was like, whoa, why is she doing this? Some of the things she does, why is she throwing these toys down the stairs? Whatever the emotion is. And it's so important that I'm her model, right? I'm the person that she is going to hopefully respect in the future. I know she'll respect me in the future because I'm going to make sure she does. Anger management is a part of that process of being a parent. And so is being a teamwork individual if you're part of a team. So imagine being in a workplace. Some people don't like to work with other people. They like to just be by themselves. And then some people like myself are very social. We like other people around. We're very social. I love to network. Glenn and I met at a networking event, and I'll go into a networking event. I'll just come out with a pocket full of business cards because I love people. Some people are not like that. So decision-making is affected by emotions. Your presentation skills are absolutely affected by emotions. I want you, before every talk, to visualize you killing it. I was doing a major talk yesterday, and I was so nervous because it was a big organization. If I get this engagement, I get 5 other engagements of a 5-figure level. And it's important that you do the work. And when I got on that, I was just in the zone because I was ready, because I visualized my success before it even happened. And we know, I keep mentioning Yoda because I just love him so much. There was a point where he was lifting a fighter out of the water, and Luke couldn't do it. And he says, because he didn't believe that he could do it, and that's why he didn't do it. And Yoda, being small, closed his eyes and he levitated that ship. We can have that same belief inside of us. Those things that you think that are big, that you'll never accomplish, or that you think you'll never accomplish, because you believe it, that can create your reality. You can also create the reality of you accomplishing this. For me to think that I'd be able to be a doctor and to travel all the world, 6 countries, and speaking to audiences full of arenas, I'm like, I never thought I'd be able to do it, and I am. And until you can believe it, it's harder to achieve when you don't. So it's all about that belief system. So we talked about trusting your instinct. When you listen to someone, this is a Dr. Mel quote with EI, you want to listen with your heart, your head, and your spirit. That's called 3D listening. This is a concept that I created. Check your emotions. When you're listening to someone, if you listen to the audience with your head and your heart and your spirit, you can give a powerful talk. If you don't listen, or if you listen to one more than the other, then the speech may not be as powerful as you want it to be. Now, I know that some of you have seen this perception exercise before. Those that haven't, let's see if you can figure it out. On the far left side, we see 2 images, and you want to kind of think about what those 2 images are. Do you see a vase and 2 faces? Or do you just see the vase? Or do you see just the 2 faces? Do you see the bunny down below? Or duck? Or both? With emotional intelligence, we see both images. You see, in life, we're always going to have 2 camps of people. You got your Burger King people and your McDonald's people. You got your Pepsi people and your Coke people. You got your Democrats, you got your Republican. No matter what you say, if I'm a McDonald's person, you're not going to convince me that Burger King is better than McDonald's. However, we both love burgers. If you like Pepsi and I like Coke, we both like soft drinks. If you're a Democrat and I'm a Republican, or vice versa, we love politics. The last image on the right side, do you see a old lady with her chin, and do you see a young lady turning away with her chin looking away? So these images just show you that it's all about perception. And with emotions, how we perceive a thing really determines how we view it. And how do you perceive yourself? Do you know that we have a communication problem in this country? You know we do. I ask all the time, how many of you believe we have a communication problem in this country? Everybody says it. Do you believe we would have a lesser divorce rate if we learned to communicate? Everybody says yes. And it's all about that listening. And it's all about emotions. And it's all about being intelligent with your emotions. If you let the emotions treat you like a roller coaster, you know that roller coaster? It's time to get off the emotional roller coaster. It's time to live a more balanced life. Think about the areas of your life. Where's your perception? Are you the person that you want to be? So I have a few questions you can ask yourself about emotional intelligence, and then I'll start my close in about quick 5 or 10 more minutes. So are you controlling your emotions? Now, this may be something that's going to take getting used to. What are your emotional blind spots? Maybe, am I misreading this situation? I have someone in my life that believes that when I talk with her, she believes I'm not listening. And I'm a psychologist. That's what I do. I listen. It's sometimes interpretation. I've had an audience member in the middle of one of my speeches stand up and say, "You're picking on me. Why are you picking on me? What's your problem?" Out of 100 people. And I like, what? I'm answering questions, but she felt like I was personally attacking her. Right. And there's going to be some people that in your audiences that are going to attack you, maybe mentally, they're like, "I don't believe this. You're wrong." And you got to be ready for at questions that people are going to have different points of view. And it's controlling your emotions during the question and answer period that really make a big difference, because people are like, "Oh, I didn't like that guy the way he answered this emotion. Or I didn't like that girl because of the emotion." So you want to find your blind spots. You want to find your hot buttons. What are those buttons? Then when people press them, they drive you crazy. Now, when I say a hot button, it's something that's very emotional, like skydiving. I'd be curious to see how many of you have skydived before. Some of you see the concept. Some of you are already shaking your head. You see the concept of skydiving. Why would I ever do that? I was afraid of heights. And I said, I'm tired of this emotion controlling me. I'm going to go skydiving. And I actually have on YouTube, Mel Campbell skydiving. If you Google it, you'll see me skydive. And one of the most powerful lessons I learned about skydiving is that it helped me control my emotions. I had no control of what was happening. And from that experience, it really helped me be a lot stronger. And I'm not saying everybody go skydive. I'm just saying that, somebody's like, "Yeah, no, I'm not going to do that." I do want you to explore those fears, though, that you have. Again, the Star Wars reference. I don't know why I'm just getting all sci-fi at everybody. Maybe it's just the side of me. I just see that Yoda. It's amazing. There's a point where he faces his dark side. Right? He goes into this cave and he faces her dark side. I believe all of us need to face our dark side. We have to face those emotions that are stopping us from being the powerful person we are. Your family needs you, right? This world needs you. The world needs your talk. The world needs your book. The world needs you to help them. And if you keep that inside of you, it's not helping the world. We need you. I'm the type of guy, I want everybody to be motivational speakers. And people are like, "Oh, I don't like the term motivational speaker." Someone that comes on the stage that changes me from one state to another state, I'm all about that. So I say, as many motivational speakers we can go, let's go in. Everybody motivational speaker, yeah, let's go. Let's motivate this planet. We live in a negative environment. And the more people that we have motivating us to be successful and deal with our challenges, I think the better. So a couple more questions here. Why am I feeling this? Is this the right emotion I'm feeling? Is the emotion correct? You see, emotion has a story. And when you release yourself from the emotional story, it can be very powerful. So emotional communication, as I talked about, works better than logical communication. Think about when you buy something. When you go buy a big TV, you don't necessarily always do the logic on that. It's an emotional decision. Most emotions drive our purchasing decisions. Now, I'm going to share with you a psychology secret. I'm doing this just for my Toastmasters. Here we go. There's only 2 things that motivate you in life. Only 2. And I can have you guess. I'll just tell you what it is. Pain or pleasure. There are no other motivators in life. You're like, money, that's pleasure. My family, that's pleasure. Right? Bills, that's pain. So we want to motivate ourselves more by pleasure. And if you think about the long-term effects of pleasure motivation and pain motivation, pain is a fast motivator, right? Pleasure over time motivates. So your emotions will pass like it does with a speech. When you go up there and you know the subject and it's you and your story, you are the authority. You're always going to change lives if that was your story and it changed your life. So changing lives and doing that as a career, that's huge respect. I know speakers that have found a way to conquer despite the odds. Think about some of the Olympic athletes out there that trained, all of these years for just seconds on that stage. And emotions, watch this, can stop them from that gold medal. They choke. Do you ever see that? They're right there. We knew they're going to win the gold medal, and then something happened, and they lost it. and they're crying at the end, right? That one moment. So those emotions that you have, when you understand them and you do your best to control them, and you can put them in play. For example, Rocky again, he had emotions. This guy's bigger than me. I'm going to lose. This guy has more championships. You know what? I'm a fighter. I'm going to win. I'm going to do this for my family, and I'm going to win this fight. And he did. And, even the Creed series after that, watch the Creed series. It's great as well. So let's start wrapping up some of this presentation. I got a quick 5 minutes. I'll do this. A lot of these emotions that we talk about from the hierarchy of needs from Maslow, you probably heard of this. If we don't have our base physiological needs taken care of, our safety needs taken care of, our emotions can be really out of whack. We're talking about being self-actualized when we're being a speaker, when we're designed to be the most and bring out the most in other people. Remember to just be calm, practice meditation. When negativities come in, put those shields up, cancel that negative thinking. Say cancel, and cancel those negative thinking. That positive self-talk can get you to places that you would never think you would ever be. You are a hero. You are that person that can conquer no matter what the odds, the thing that's going on in your life that is stopping you from being that powerful individual. And I'm looking forward to one day meeting. I would love to go to the live conference and give high fives to people. I'm a hugger too. I'll get the bear hug in. And I love that energy. I'd love to I'm a tree hugger too. I hug trees. I love what I can to get that emotion from people and invoke it in others. There's nothing wrong with energy exchange on the stage. And I'm going to tell you a little secret. This is going to be weird for some people. I'm kind of like an energy on the stage. I'm kind of like an energy vampire, right? I'll feed off my audience and then I'll throw it back. And I'll throw it back in a bigger way. So then the energy is hyped and it's more and then more. And then we're building up to a synergy point where it just explodes at the end, right? There's just so much emotions going on and it's fun, just so people see people laugh. Well, people tend to laugh at me than with me. It's just not very funny, to be honest with you, but people tend to laugh at me. So I do my best. And when you do your best, people appreciate that. They're like, at least you gave your heart up there. And like, thank you. And when people tell me that their lives have been changed and they write me and they email me and tell me, Mel, you made a difference in my life. Wow, to go to bed and know that you made a difference in people's lives, it spreads and it's amazing. And that energy comes back in your life, by the way. When you change others, you'll find that your life will change as well. Here are some Eli quotes I want to close with. In a very real sense, we have two minds, one that thinks and one that feels. Daniel Goleman, who emotional intelligence guru, wrote this. And then, of course, Wayne Dyer. Wayne Dyer, I'm kind of like a Tony Robbins, Wayne Dyer mix. That's kind of who I am. I'm just very spiritual, and at the same time, I'm very, in your face. So I love Wayne Dyer when he says, you have a very powerful mind that can make anything happen as long as you keep yourself centered. If you are not tuned into your emotions, you will be very poor at reading other people's. And then when a storm comes, it stays for some time and then goes on. The same with the emotion, right? It's only an emotion. We have an emotional intelligence. When having emotional intelligence is like you're confident and you're working toward your goals. You're becoming adaptable. So I want to, thank everybody for, tuning into this. I have my contact information. See my stay strong. I got to close with some funny. I created my meme. That's the first time I created a meme. I'm doing that for Toastmasters. So let's open things up here. I know there's been some chatting going on. I don't know why my chat's not pulling up. So I'm going to turn back my share.
Great job.
Thank you.
So do we have questions? I already have 3 from different people. First one was actually, this isn't a reflection on how great of a job you did, but everyone was like, how do you do that caption thing?
Well, what's funny? I had a client walk me through it, and I don't know how I did it. And to be honest with you, I don't know how to turn it off. But you can Google a closed caption PowerPoint, and it should give you the menus to do it.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
That's great. The next question was, it seems like all the speakers have written a book. Do you feel it's important to write a book in order to get on a professional speaking circuit or to do this as a professional speaker?
Absolutely. I'll debate with anybody that says different, because and being an author is credibility. It's great that you have a story, but when you have a story and prove that you're author, being an author really, many of you think it's hard. It's not as hard as you think. I have a great editor too I can share with you as well, and he was able to take my concept and whatever sucked about it, he made better. There's ghost writers you can hire. You can write with other people in different books, so you don't have to just write a chapter. Start writing every day though. You've got to start capturing your story down. Start with that 25 stories and then start molding it from there. But you're not going to get a book done if you want to do it overnight. You got to do it day by day and put your energy in. You got stories there. You got something to share. You can do it. It's not a hard process, but that credibility is absolute. And I'm the opposite. I believe from the last speaker, I believe speaker bureaus are really amazing. If you're a high elite speaker, you definitely want them to represent you, in my opinion. So everybody's different.
Great. And can you talk a little bit about the pre-speech questionnaire things that you would ask?
Sure. What is your expectations of this talk? What is it that you want to learn the most? What is it that you're weak in? Some people in the survey is like, I don't even know what emotional intelligence is. I'm like, wow, okay, I understand my audience now. So if you can, and then you take the elements of your survey and you put it right in your talk. It's
Sure.
it's very easy, and don't make it long. Make it about 4 or 5 questions. You're good to go. And by the way, I did want to share a resource that can really help with more content for our Toastmasters. You definitely want to use slideshare.net. Slideshare.net is owned by LinkedIn. Well, who owns LinkedIn? Microsoft. Do you think this website's credible? Yeah. You type in the term emotional intelligence, and there are PowerPoints that pop up that you can share in your talks. You can get concepts of what you're wanting to talk about. And you're talking about taking 2 days to write a speech. You can do it in hours by that resource.
Excellent. Do we have any other questions out here? I didn't see any in the that were typed in, but I may have missed some people.
I have a question for you.
Sure.
I have a question.
So I got a kick when you talked about your emotional blind spots and what are your hot buttons, because I generally tend to think that I have some pretty good emotional EQ, but then there are a few people who can hit my hot button and they hit them hard and fast. Yeah. And so I'd love to know, like, once you can identify that hot button, what do you do with it?
Sure. Well, who can hit those hot buttons really fast is our family members. Right? They're the ones, my mom, my dad, they hit those hot buttons and boom. So one of my girlfriend knows that I don't like when people are mad at me. So, when I know that it's a hot button for me, that if you're mad at me, I'm going to, be emotional. Now that I know that, I said, well, maybe they're not mad at me. And, sometimes you can think someone's mad at you and they're really not. Sometimes you can see an email and you're like, why did they react like this? So I think identify the hot button and saying, what is the opposite of what it can do? Maybe they're really not mad at me. Any other questions?
Quick question.
Sure.
How to improve our emotional intelligence. Where would we start? What's the first thing? What's something simple you could give us to do?
Okay, so one of the most simple things you do about understanding your emotional intelligence is to kind of just sit down and take 5 minutes with nothing going on at all around you, almost like a meditation, and see what thoughts are coming in, right? And analyzing those thoughts. Start writing down the thoughts that are coming in and understand the emotions that are coming with the thoughts, because all thoughts come with some emotion. So being in a meditation is a really powerful way to kind of work on stilling your thought, but it's also a good way to understand your thought processes. And then challenge yourself emotionally, like as a Toastmaster. If you don't want to public speak and it's your number one fear, do it. Do it. Do the talk you don't want to do. That dealing with those emotions is going to teach you a lesson and help you get through it. I've done some very complicated talks. I didn't share my contact information too. Just let me know when you want me to share my contact information.
Yes, please. If you could put it up there on the screen, that would be fantastic.
Good. Yeah. All right. So if anybody does have any more questions, you can reach me at Mel at drmelcampbell.com, or melcampbell@hotmail.com is a faster way for me to too, because I have people to help me. My office number is there as well. My website. I do have a book. I do have 15 audio resources of interviews I've done with motivators as well. So if anybody wants to check that out on my website, it is available as well.
Very good. Okay. Do we have any other questions?
I just had a quick question.
Sure.
Your presentation today was very impactful, and I can't wait to kind of go back over it and dive back into some of the content. But what was also interesting to me was the way in which it was presented. I noticed that most of your slides were pretty much black and white text rather than pictures or flashy or transitions, things we often see in PowerPoint presentations. I'm assuming there's a reason for that, and wondered if you would kind of expound on that.
Sure, absolutely. You know, I get that a lot with my students. You know, sometimes it's different for me because I'll move slides in and out. I don't have an ongoing presentation. I like to keep things simple. And if you hit the B button on a PowerPoint, it turns the presentation blank, and then you become the presentation. So I just have my slides up there for reference. I kind of make them fancy later. Probably for this audience, I probably could have done more of a fancier slide with my Fortune 500 company clients. I definitely do, but I knew I was going to be moving fairly rapidly, so I just kept it very simple. So yes, spend time on PowerPoint. Make sure you do it right. I think you should get everything in first and then format it the way you want. So I probably could have made it a little bit more pretty. I'm a rapid speaker. I go pretty quick. So that is a definitely point. Thank you for that question.
Others?
Yeah, we got one from YouTube that was sent to me. One of our audience members is looking at the Emotional Intelligence 2.0 and was wanting to know, how does emotional intelligence EQ relate to the DISC way of thinking, the DISC tests?
Great question. I'm a huge personality styles speaker, and the DISC basically boils down personalities into 4 different components, right? So with the style that I teach, is kind of like Tony Alessandro does this: the thinker, the relator, the socializer, the director. So some people are very dominant in terms of the personality, and some are steady. That's where the DISC comes in. So emotional intelligence or EQ is how you work with the other personality styles. For example, if I'm dealing with a director or dominant, I'm going to get right to the point. I'm not going to tell stories like a socializer would, right? Emotional intelligent individual will know how to switch back and forth between the personality styles, rather than, you know, like a thinker who's about data and logic. You don't want to tell stories to that person. You want to get to the logic and the data. So an emotional quotient kind of shows how you can work with the DISC in order to get the results you want. Now, DISC is absolutely something you want to know with personality, especially with your audiences. Now, I balanced in all 4 personality styles out of 100 people. I didn't have a dominant, which is very rare. So as a speaker, you have to be all 4 personality styles.
Okay. Do we have anybody else? I didn't see anybody else on the Zoom group.
I have a question. Can you hear me?
Yes, please go ahead.
Dealing with an audience like us, where we're maybe advantaged, I think it's a little bit easier to get through to us than it would be to a disadvantaged audience, an audience of maybe young people or people who don't have anything or haven't had anything and have struggled their whole life. Do you do much work with groups of young people who are struggling in disadvantaged situations?
You know, to be honest with you, I really don't. And let me tell you why. I connect really well with adult audiences, and I haven't really spoke to audiences that are different from what I know. You know, I just don't connect well with the youth in terms of the logic of being a psychologist. The energy is very different. So it's just a weakness of mine. And as a speaker, I tend not to tackle things that could possibly be a weakness. It could be something I do in the future. I do sometimes donate, speeches. I have my own nonprofit, Inspiring Hope, with my father, my uncle, and my brother. And we are doing what we can to help disadvantaged individuals out there. I'm from Detroit. won a Myrtle Cup of the world when I was around there. So I focus primarily on areas that, you know, are in my circle, but definitely something I'm open to in the future when I get more comfortable with the audience. So hope I answered that question effectively.
Any other questions for Dr. Mel?
Dr. Mel, this is Stacy. I will have to tell you, we're going to have to challenge you on that. You know, you just told us, do what scares you.
This is true.
Challenge.
And, well, you know, it doesn't really scare me. I know I'm a great speaker. I'm ready to help and ready to do whatever. So I'm willing to take on whatever challenge. It's just a matter of my time schedule right now. I mean, I'm booked like 3 months out, and it's just, and wait, I want to be a father, everybody. I want to stay off the road and speak with and be home for my family. Anytime I'm in the car, I've been traveling I've been over 332 cities, every state in this country. And I just want to be home for my daughter. And the more I can speak here in Atlanta is kind of what my focus is right now. But I'm definitely, you know, there are people in Atlanta that I can drive half an hour to when my daughter's at the sitter. You know, I'm definitely down. But time is very important to me, and now I'm precious. I have myself booked so far in advance that, you know, maybe something in the future. So